Hello, and welcome to another game development broadcast for Project CSK. Of course, I am the creator of the project, and the online name that I go by is Des. We're going to continue working on the project like we've been doing for some time, and I had an opportunity to work on the project a little bit the other day, and it was mostly research and stuff because there's still a lot for me to learn about development as a whole, Unity, and some other technical things such as shaders and vertex shaders and those kinds of really interesting stuff that you rarely go into unless you're really interested in it, of course. And I'm interested. So after doing a bunch of research, there were some challenges I was having before, and of course I wanted to solve those. It's just difficult to do those on broadcast, right? Because I need to be kind of jumping all over the place, and I need to really focus and kind of not like be continuously talking out loud. I mean, that does help sometimes, but not always. Sometimes I just need to be able to, sit in front of the computer, do some research, or stand up and just kind of walk around just to get my mind away from the screen, but logically deeper in what it is that I'm focusing on, so I can pick it apart and put it back together to see what kind of challenges I'm facing and how to overcome them. Because there's always going to be challenges, and there's always going to be solutions, and various different types of solutions for various different types of challenges. So one of the challenges I was having was the Z depth sort. And that was something I didn't really understand. And to be honest, it's something I don't have much experience with, dealing with 3Ds, and especially not a 2.5D kind of environment where there's still outstanding challenges that I've yet to tackle. But specifically, the Z sort was not working well for me, and I did eventually figure it out. But basically, it comes down to when you're working with a shader, whether it's Unity or any other application, shaders, if you tell it to have transparency, then it will not use the Z depth sort in the way that you think it will. And they do that for my understanding, and to simplify it or oversimplify it, it's for performance. The Z depth buffer is very complex. I barely scratched the surface of it with the current knowledge of it that I have right now. I'm definitely interested in learning more, and I will be learning more of shaders and shader graph and that kind of stuff down the line, because I intend to use quite a bit of it when we get to the world part and we get into pet combat and whatnot. But so the challenge I was having was that I had transparencies on, and then because I had them transparent, they weren't sorting properly on the Z depth, right? But because it's pixel art, I don't really need transparencies. I mean, it's nice to have, absolutely it is, but what I really wanted was a cutout. A cutout is similar to a transparency, but any pixels that are invisible, right, they just completely get cut out. It doesn't try to calculate them as transparent individual pixels over top of other layers in the buffer. So that's something I changed. And once I changed that, I started to get good results. However, I still have yet to figure out how to do the same in what do you call it? Particle effects. Particle effects, by default, I think it's by default, but whatever, they use a standard shader or a 2D shader or whatever the case may be, right? And what happens is when you do a cutout, right, you lose the ability to apply transparency to the material, which is the color, and it no longer goes transparent when you're doing a fade. And I'll show you what I mean by that in a little bit, but I thought that was interesting. So then I went on this whole journey, creating my own shaders and whatnot, very simple ones, mind you, of course. And I made my very first shader. This is my very first shader that I made on my own. It's not very complex, and then only afterward did I find out I didn't actually need to make that because Unity already has that functionality. But it was good practice anyway, because I do plan on making shaders and whatnot moving forward. They're going to be an important part of the game. I'll use them for particle effects. I'll use them for visual effects, or VFX if you want to call them, in the game. Could definitely use them for some UI stuff. We could do some really cool UI stuff, which would be neat. Which I've seen other games do it, like for example, health bars or some really neat background panels for like UI and whatnot. You can do some really cool stuff, even with like text and whatnot. You could apply shaders to it to do some pretty interesting stuff, which I'll get into later on. But right now, I'm not quite at that level yet myself. There's still a whole lot more for me to learn. And it's a matter of just taking my time and learning this stuff. And of course, that's another obstacle that I'm constantly facing is time, right? Because I do this on my spare time. I do this for fun. I do this for educational purposes. I do this to show you guys what's going on behind the scenes. But it all kind of revolves around my regular routine of, you know, my 9 to 5 normal job, my responsibilities and commitments. Food, exercise, sleep, and whatever else that I need to do. And then I try to my best to make as much time for the project as I can. So then we can make progress on, because even as it is right now, the project has gotten to a point where it's pretty big, right? Where just putting like an hour or two is barely scratching the surface at all, right? To make progress on any type of remotely significant progress, need to put in about a good 10 to 20 hours for certain types of functionality. Of course, some things are more in depth, others are really simple, easy stuff. So I'm generalizing, of course. But anyway, so that's kind of the idea of where we're at. So let's jump into it, and I'll show you kind of where I got to and where we're going to be going. I have no idea what that message is in Discord, but it seems a little inappropriate. I don't want to focus on that right now. Okay, so what I did do is, oh, wrong scene. Let's go to the other scene first. I think it's makes it a bit easier to visualize it on the other scene. Okay, so on this scene, what I did is I changed the shader. So this is now using my custom shader that I made, which is this shader. Oh, I thought it would jump to it. Okay. I have made this shader myself, which is pretty cool. So this is what is, I guess you could call it, how do you collapse? Collapse? Nope, don't want to collapse. Okay, fine. So this is basically how I'm doing the shader right now, which is passing in a tiling and offset. And I've seen my YouTube video that I put up recently. The tiling and offset is because we are using a sprite atlas as a texture atlas. So you need to put in the tiling and offset for the quad or the quad that will use the texture, which the texture is the texture from the texture atlas or sprite atlas, whatever you want to call it. They're indistinguishable to me at this point. Anyway, so this is our main texture. So from the texture atlas, we pass in a tiling and offset, which says what to show. And then that passes it over through the RGBA, and it goes out in terms of color. And then we pass in the alpha transparency as well, which goes a part of the color for the alpha. And then we have a alpha clip threshold. Now, the alpha clip threshold is the cutout that I was talking about. So inside of I forget which one it's using, but anyway, so the alpha clip threshold basically just says do a cutout if the alpha meets this certain criteria, right? Just do a cutout. Which is great because now this solves, however simple it is. This was my first actual shader that I made, but that solves some of the challenges. So because of that, I was able to address it. So now my sorting works correctly. So if I take this object and I duplicate it, and we go a little bit behind, you'll see that it's sorting correctly. And if we raise it up or down, it's always sorted correctly. But if we move it forward, it comes in front of the object. And if we move it up or down, it'll always sort correctly on the Z sort. Before it wasn't doing that, which was unfortunate, of course. But these are just necessary things that I need to learn to better understand it. And later on, as I get deeper and deeper into shaders, I'll get a better understanding of it. But wow, shaders, they go pretty deep. I mean, all programming really can go deep. There's the lighter stuff, and there's the more in-depth or stuff that's on the deeper end of the spectrum. But shaders, they're just something I haven't dealt with yet, so it's still kind of new to me. But I mean, I've always known they existed, and it's just one of those things I've never really had a reason to get into it. So because of that, I never really learned it. That doesn't mean I can't learn it. It just means I'm still new to it. Anyway, so what I did is I worked on the animation, and I'll show you right now. It looks pretty cool. So here's our drop animation now. And if you can compare it to what it looked like before the previous video, excuse me. Right, so it's being sped up. It looks pretty good. This is kind of clipping it a little bit. Right, so we got two particle effects. We got this bouncy thing, right? And then we have, so we have one of the particle effects is the beams that kind of gives it the illusion of speed. It's really an aesthetic thing more than anything else. And then the other is when it hits the ground, right? You get this little bit of dust that comes out, and the dust does sort, but you'll notice it has no transparency. It's supposed to fade out, right? So if we go to the actual particle effect, and I'll show you what I mean. So the dust particles on the color over lifetime, right? It's supposed to do an alpha transparency about the roughly at the 80% point. It's supposed to transparency alpha out, but it doesn't do that because of the shader that I changed it to. I couldn't figure out how to or I couldn't figure out which shader to use or how to make a shader that will incorporate this while using the appropriate offset functions that the material uses, because one of them is called, I forget what they're called. Let me see if I can find it. It was called, I think it was main texture offset and main texture something else. I need to find it. Let's see, what was it called? There we go. Yeah, so it's main texture offset and main texture scale. I couldn't figure out how to make this be usable for custom tiling and offset vectors. And the reason why I wanted to do that is because I couldn't find a shader that will use this that works for particle effects, that also allows transparency of the fade out color, not transparency of the surrounding the cutout part, but transparency on the actual per pixel in the center core part of the material itself. So currently I'm using this. I tried this. I tried a bunch of different things. I couldn't quite figure it out. But materials, shaders, you can also click on them and open their source code and have a look at them that way, which is really neat as well. I'll definitely be getting into some of that. I don't think I'll be coding shaders. I'll likely use vector graph to do the shading stuff just because it's easier initially, I think. And then later, when I need to get into it, it on the more deeper end, if I can't do it in vector graph, I may look into learning shader programming itself, because it's really programming. You just need to understand how the logic works and how they tie into each other and what the individual nodes correspond to in terms of code and whatnot. So we'll see how that goes. And that's something I'll definitely, like I said, need to get into when we get into the pet combat system later on in the world, because all the spells and effects, they'll need that kind of stuff. At least I believe it needs it, and it'll add a whole level of really interesting stuff to play with, which I'm really looking forward to. But we're still a ways away from that. So for right now, we've gotten one step closer in terms of being able to do this. But so here's the interesting thing. You'll notice that it doesn't alpha transparency fade out. But if I go and change the shader that this particle system is using, so we'll go into rendering, right? And we'll go to the material and change the material to be, let's see. Which one was I had another material. Where's my materials? Okay, so we had one, I think it was this, blank effect unlit, which uses universal render pipeline unlit. Okay, yeah, let's go with that. So we'll go back to that one. Where were we? This here. Click on this. Effect blank unlit. Okay, so now when we play this, it's the wrong one, I think. Is it? Nope, it's the wrong one. Okay, I may have, I don't know, I don't remember exactly where it is, but you get the idea of what it is that I'm saying, though. I don't want it to just go outward and then all of a sudden just vanish. I do want them to fade out. And the reason why I believe it's possible is, well, I know it's possible, but because I made this custom shader, this object, when it comes down, the alpha transparency fades in and comes down. At least I think it's working anyway. But that's something I'll look at later. For right now, I've made some progress on it, and I think it looks pretty good, and it adds quite a bit to the overall animation of it. But let's jump back to the other scene now and see it in action. After coming back to this scene and playing it, I noticed that there's still some stuff I didn't quite address. The colliders, they conflict with each other under certain circumstances, which was something I didn't really anticipate or properly take into account. So now when we go and use this, when we use the abilities, so the popsicle works like before for now. Shield, haven't really done anything with it yet. And then when we go to use a block, right? So that looks way cooler, like aesthetically. Like I really like that aesthetically. Probably going to speed it up later, but that looks really good. So there's an example of the colliders kind of not working well with each other. So what happened is it ended up going into the ground. So you can see the collider ended up going into the ground, which it shouldn't have, but it did for whatever reason. Not a big deal, right? These things they're going to happen, and I'll figure them out one by one eventually moving forward. I just thought it was the overall goal is to just make progress, right? And then you just continue to fix these things over time. Okay, so that brings us to kind of where we are now, roughly. So what I want to do is I want to fix that collider thing, and then probably bring this stuff into the game room and we can incorporate some of it. The popsicle, throwing, the landing, the explosion effect, or visual effect, and then the freezing effect of it freezing a character afterward. Those are things that I still haven't quite done yet, and I will get into that. But right now, I just haven't really gotten that far into it. But since we've made progress on these current things, let's fix it up and then bring it in and have a look at it and see how it looks like in the game room itself, which really adds another whole level of, I guess, for lack of a better term, seeing it all come together helps me get a better understanding of what it's going to look like. And then if something kind of stands out and doesn't look right, then I'll keep iterating on it until it does look right. And if something looks right, but then I get an idea of how to make it look better, then I'll iterate on that, of course, as well, right? That's just the process of iteration. You'll hear me say this a lot, and a lot of the talks that I listen to on GDC, Game Development Conference, and a lot of other YouTube tutorials that I do watch periodically, they all basically say the same message, and it's something that I think is important to know is you're not going to get it right the first time. I made that mistake just as I'm sure many others have, many others will. And it's not about getting it right the first time. It's about getting the basic concept initially, getting it kind of working. Even if it crashes still, it's still fine under certain circumstances. And then you just continue to iterate on it, and it becomes closer and closer to how you envision it in your mind. And that's kind of how I developed this project too, in terms of not just the concept, the story, the mechanics, the direction, and a lot of these other things. Of course, there's a overall plan, and if you want to know what the roadmap is, have a look at the 10th anniversary video that I put on YouTube. I think that's a pretty good explanation of it. But what I generally try to do is do a little bits and pieces here and there, and then kind of leave it open-ended. I don't like to always commit to something that I don't 100% agree with, or something that I think is still kind of okay, but not necessarily in the direction that I want it to go. But I'll still implement it, because a lot of the functionality, like code especially, you can, once you implement certain types of code and make it reusable, then you can continue to reuse it throughout the project, which is great, right? Not always the case, of course, but sometimes it just is, and it works out well. Other times, well, you kind of just got to go with the flow sometimes. But yeah, so that's generally how I do things, and it's something that I've used and leveraged a lot, and it's helped me learn a lot too. That way is that you build up a little bit of knowledge, and then you just continue to build up on it over time moving forward, and that gives you the opportunity to make mistakes, which are fine, completely fine to make. It gives you the opportunity to experiment, gives you the opportunity to learn and grow. So I really like that approach, and I wish that was something that was also taught in school back in the day. It's like one of those topics that they don't really mention, because I've never met anyone who does perfect code the first time around. I don't think it's even possible, with the exception of like really simple code. And the same applies to anyone who's doing art. I've never seen anyone do art and get something right 100%, like completely correct the first time. It's just not going to happen. Same with story, same with UI, or whatever else the case may be, right? So I try to keep that in mind, in the back of my mind oftentimes, because you'll see me make this mistake too, is that I'll like focus on something so much that I'll tunnel vision onto it, right? And I'll get a little carried away. right? That does happen from time to time. And I think we all do that, and that's okay too, right? It just means that you're really, like, really into it, and that's okay, right? If you're doing it for fun, if you're doing it like as your main job, like you're employed for a company and you need to kind of like not do that, then maybe the circumstances are different then. But for me, on the project that I enjoy working on and I do it for fun, I think it's perfectly acceptable. Um, anyway, so kind of going off on a side road here. Okay, so let's shift back here. So what I want to do is the block. Um, what I want to do is the block. So let's go out of this scene and we'll go back to our test scene. Okay, so why is it going through the ground? That would mean that I am transitioning um, that would mean that I, in my transition, something is not right. So let's have a look at the transition itself. So when we go here and we look at this, okay, so that looks fine there. But when we go here, that seems fine as well. But where's the colliders, and how is this happening? So the main collider on the outside doesn't change or move, okay? In our transition of the falling, on the transition of the fall, so we want position Y. Nope, wrong one. Wrong one. That's the bounce. We want the falling from above. Okay, so we want the position Y. We're modifying the container. The container, I don't believe has any colliders under it, does it? Because this would be our collider. Okay, so this is our trigger collider. And then this one being our... I thought this one was at a different level, and that's why it was happening. But from what I can see here, it's not. So I'm not sure what is going on there exactly, because this has no collider. This has no collider. No collider, unless this has a collider active with it. No, material has nothing. So we have no mesh collider. This one does have a mesh collider, but it's disabled. This has no collider. The collider is a trigger collider, and then effects, no collider, no collider, no collider. So how does that happen then? Okay, then we need to go investigate. Let's go look at it in a bit more detail. So we'll go in and we will go to the game room scene, and I'll make it somehow do that thing again, which I'm not sure exactly how it happens, which is why I still am trying to figure it out. So let's go put one here. Okay, so that was in the correct location. Correct, 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 correct. Okay, so under what circumstances does it... Okay, so that happened. So this one went into the ground. Why did it go into the ground though? Because from what I can see here, let's move it up. Nope. so if we just look at the collider of it, yeah, the collider did go down. The collider, so that means the object why did the object come in at so the Y position should have been the same Y position as one of these others, which would be 0.2. How did it end up as minus 0.082? Because when we go and we make the object and we're instantiating it, we're setting an exact position. So what is causing that is the question. Because all this stuff looks normal to me. But it went farther down. I don't quite understand that. Okay, let's go look at the prefab. Okay, so the prefab starts with the collider active. Maybe that might have a thing to do with it. The positioning is all 0, 0, 0, so it is set to. Let's go on creation or on instantiation. Let's have a look at what position we're giving it. That way, that might help us better understand kind of what's going on there. So we'll go to game room. Block usage, new position. Let's see, how are we doing this here? So we're getting the direction, so that's our character direction, multiplied by, cell width, cell height, which is really the X and Z. And we're converting it to position, create following environment block, X, Y. Shouldn't it be X and Z? Because when we pass it in here, we're just using this position directly as the local position. Okay, so let's have a look at it here. So we'll say debug.log. Let's go with key ID. I like to usually output some kind of ID so I can differentiate. So we'll use key ID. And then what we're going to do is we're going to output the position. So the final position that we're going to pass in. So let's have a look at that and see what does that output? Specifically, what is the output when it gets the incorrect position? That's what I'm interested in. So let's see. So that one's fine. Okay. There we go. So that one there was our last one, key ID 2459 blah blah blah. Okay. So we can see this is the exact object, 869, 869. So the position that we gave it is actually point 2 on the Y. However, this does have a point 2 on. No, that does seem correct. Why is it lower though? I thought it was off. Okay, then I'm not sure I understand this. Oh, it's the Z. It's the Z, isn't it? No, it would have to be the Y. Oh, okay. So we gave it a negative Y, whereas these have a positive Y? What? So because it's Y, wait, if it's Y negative, then that means it's because we were facing down? That can't be right. Yeah. So when we're facing down, so that means then if we're also facing left, nope, right, nope, up, yeah. Huh. I never noticed that before. Okay, so yeah, I think that is it. I think it's because this Y is supposed to be a Z. Because we're supposed to be converting it. Yeah, I think that's really what it comes down to. I think I messed that up. Because if that gets changed to a Z, because when you flip something from 2D to 3D, Y becomes Z, right? X stays the same. Y becomes Z, so then the new Y is a vertical height. I think that's what it is. So if that's the case, that means the popsicles are also messed up because I copied the same code. So that means we need to apply the same. But let's first check just to make sure this is correct. I never noticed that. And this is why we test things, right? It's because otherwise, I don't know. Like, it's so easy to overlook a detail like that. Okay, so facing down, facing up. Yeah, that's exactly it. Okay, so I'm kind of trapped, but it's not going to do that anymore. Okay, so yeah, it was definitely the one single character is all, and it just kind of got messed up. It's interesting. I like that animation. Okay, yeah, I would say that's working. So let's fix the popsicle as well. So the popsicle, I was doing the exact same. Position start, position end. Popsicle use test. Oh, okay. So then this one I did do it right. So it was right there. Somehow when I went and did this, I messed this one up. This looks like that would be the line that would correspond to it. Is there another reference? No, I don't think there is. Okay. So yeah, that's all it was. It was just a minor mistake. So we'll take that out. Okay, so with that, then what I can do is okay. So what I want to do next is the usage of those items within a game room. Of course, they're not fully ready yet to be used, but what I do want to do is bring that logic in since it's kind of partially implemented and then likely go back and modify some of it. I don't know if I'll be doing any pixel art or stuff like that today, but I think, yeah, I think I just want to get that in there for now because what I like to do is so I like to test this stuff on my own Android devices because I really like to test it on different types of use case scenarios. Like because the goal is for it to be cross-platform, right? It needs to be able to support touchscreen controls for mobile and whatever devices, mouse and keyboard, and gamepad. Right, so I like to be able to build and test, and it's a whole different experience. If, like, it's it's a different gaming experience when you're playing on like a mobile, whether it's your smartphone or if it's a mobile console like a Steam Deck, or if you just take your phone and you put a telescopic controller, which I do plan on getting at some point. Um, uh, it changes the experience. It makes it different. I rather enjoy that. And I like that. It gives me a bit more immersion into the game because I get to see it differently. When I sit in front of a computer so much, right? Like for work and for development and for everything, it it kind of like it loses something somewhere. I don't know what it is that it loses, but it's not the same feel, right? But I get that feeling when I use a mobile device and I'm away from my computer, whether it's a Android smartphone or a tablet or something, and I'm not sitting in front of the computer. I get that experience, that gaming experience is different for me, which is why I kind of like it. No, it's not that I kind of like it. I definitely like it. Um, so yeah, I like to do those kinds of tests. Um, and I've tested this before, and I think I've mentioned it. I tested it on my Android device, and it's a low-end device, but it got 60 FPS, which I thought was pretty cool. Um, so I'm definitely looking to do more of those tests, and then eventually, hopefully not too long in the distant future, maybe not so distant future, I'll be putting another a beta build out there for the beta testers to play, and you should be able to almost be able to play the game in terms of the game room, because most of the functionality is there. Not all of it, but most of it is there. You can log in from the lobby. You can create a game room, or you can join a game room that's been created. And then once you go into the game room, the controls work. The touchscreen controls, I haven't tested in a while, to be honest. Hopefully nothing's broken since. But I have been regularly testing on keyboard and on a gamepad, and it has been working well. So we'll see when I go and do another round of testing. Anyway, so let's bring that stuff in. And what do I mean by bringing that stuff in? So what we'll need to do is go back to, let's change our scene. And then we'll log in. I already have a game room on the test account. Okay. So we can join this game room. Waiting for next round. Okay. So I'll just end this round real quick. Oh, that's not supposed to happen. Why is it active? Oh, I think I just left it active by accident. It's supposed to auto activate in test mode. Okay, so it auto activates, but then when we go and log in, nope. Okay, that's, yeah, I forgot. I'm not supposed to leave that enabled because that is a test character. Okay, so we're waiting for next round. Just end that real quick. Okay. Okay, so we'll just grab a couple of pickup items. So there's one. Okay, so now we got all of them. So if I go to use a popsicle, right, nothing happens. If I go to use a shield, oh, that actually worked. I wasn't thinking it was going to work. And then if I go to drop a block, yeah, it just creates one, but it didn't play the animation, right? So that's what I want to address. So let's go and have a look at that. So inside of the game room, let's have a look at the block just because we were there recently. Where is something block add, or I don't remember exactly. For those of you that are in chat, hello and welcome. Feel free to say hi. I don't mind. I rather like it when you say hi, but if you don't want to, that's okay. I don't mind if you just want to sit back, relax, and watch me work on the project. Eventually, we will be able to play together, but it does help me out if you hit that like button or follow button. And you're also welcome to join the Discord channel if you like to hang out in there with other players who are also looking forward to the project. Where is this listener that I have? Add destroyable block. Okay, I think that's it right there. It's just the wording. Yeah, okay, so I think that's it right there. So what we want to do is, instead of that, we want to change this function call to this one here. So we do need to give it a key ID. Key ID was, what is the key ID again? I don't think that is it. No. Let's undo that. Create destructible. Yeah, let's follow this logic first. Okay, so when we say create destructible, the key ID is position XYZ. Okay. Right, because we want to be able to easily access it. So I went with that. Which is fine. I mean, we could use a different key ID, but it just makes it easy to grab it, right? So like if you want to know what block is in what location, because they aren't going to be overlapping in the game, the ID is going to be the position. It's just that easy, right? You just grab it straight out of there. So it's pretty good in that sense. It could have been like a unique counter or something, but then you can't really translate the counter to position and vice versa easily. So I decided to just go with that. So we can go with that for now. Okay, so if we go key ID, okay, so if we go key ID is position start. It's X. Oh, okay. X is no, X is column. Row is Y, and then Z is going to be 0, of course. Oops. Okay, so we'll go with that for now until I decide to change the naming convention. Okay, so then we can use this. But we need to translate. Oh, we need to translate position. We need position new. Okay, so we need a vector 3 position new equals what exactly? And then we have the variation ID being the type, I believe. Yeah, I think variation ID is type. Okay, so how do we convert X, Y columns and rows in 2D to vector 3 position with map offset and everything? I think I had a function for that. I think I had a function for that. Yeah, I know I made a function for that. I think I put it down here somewhere. There we go. Position 2D to 3D. Okay. We will make this public. Okay. So then we should be able to say environment map dot that, and then pass in, oh, still need to pass in a vector to int. Okay, whatever. We'll pass that in for now. So we'll say vector to int, and then we'll pass in position x is going to be, x is column, y is row, right? Yeah, I think that should do it. Okay, so with this then, inaccessible due to its protection level. What? Oh, I didn't save it. Okay, never mind. Yeah, so this should get us what we need, hopefully. So let's test that out. And then if this works, then we'll continue to just move on to some of the other stuff. So no better way, whoops, didn't mean to click there. No better way to test it than to log in. Okay. I'm really looking forward to getting into the shaders. I was looking up some videos on YouTube, and there's some really talented people that have some amazing videos on there. And some of the stuff, okay, let's be honest, most of the stuff went way over my head just because I'm not at that level of understanding of shaders. But it looks so cool to be able to do that stuff, and I want to do that for like the spells, the effects, and all the other good stuff. It's going to be really cool when we get to that point. Okay, so that's what I want, is the block. Okay, oh, second one, bonus. Okay, so when I go to use it, nice. Okay, and then I can destroy it. Nice. Okay. I would say that that's a success. Ooh, more blocks. So then the thing with the block is you can't, like if I put one there, I can't put another one there. It doesn't let you, right? So you'll never get overlapping blocks. That's why the position, the key ID, I use the position for it as well. That way it's easy to just grab one because you know it's ID based on the position, and you know it's position based on the ID. Yeah, so that's not going to happen. That was a visual anomaly. But yeah, no, I like this. I ran out. Okay. Yeah, I like that. I think that looks really good. Okay, so with that, then what I want is the shield. So the shield, actually, I think it was working. So if I just press it, it does work. Does it go away though? It does. Okay. So shield is working, then there's nothing I need to do there. Should make me invulnerable. Okay. So shield makes you invulnerable for a short period of time. So then what remains is the popsicle. Oh, I don't have one. Okay, I was pressing the button, not realizing I don't, what? I destroyed that many blocks and I don't have a single popsicle yet? That's so strange. The RNG in this is a little like, it's not real or random, it's pseudo random, right? But still, like, you would think that you would have gotten one at this point, having destroyed so many objects with a approximate probability of X, right? It should have hit that probability at this point, but so I'll need to put in some more logic to make it more like, oh, there's one. Okay, so we finally got one. You can see me zipping around because I picked up so many power-ups. If I go to use it, and there's more, another one, another one. Okay, so if I go use it, you can see the counter goes down, right? But I'm not actually throwing any projectiles. It's just, it is what it is. Like, even though I'm throwing them, right? There's nothing coming out. Okay, so let's have a look at that next. Okay, so when we go to use a popsicle specifically, when we go to use a popsicle, what happens? Do we even have a listener for it? Pick up, struggle, pick up, handle, bomb, add, bomb, explode, destroy, pick up, destroy, block, popsicle, add. Yeah, that's it right there. So what do we do here? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Okay. Okay, so that's why. Let's clear our bookmarks. We'll put a bookmark here. How did I do it on the test? Test, where's my test popsicle? Right here. I want to do it the same way here. Okay, so we don't need direction. What we need is to this is a magic number. Okay, so what we need is this information here. Actually, let's the 0.75. I don't like having that here. Let's move that into our config. Yeah, let's move that into the config, unless we have it already. No, we have nothing for popsicle. Okay. I'd rather throw that into here. Okay, so I'd rather have it there than have it here. Like so. So we'll just replace this here for now. So we'll say config. My fingers are all over the place. This is what happens when you type a lot on one keyboard and then switch to another one. Doesn't go very well. Okay, so let's jump to our bookmark, and then we'll paste that in here. Okay, so now we need to fill this stuff in. Popsicle ID, we should have that. Okay, what's the second entry? The second one is variation ID. Do we have a variation ID? I don't think we do. Okay, so let's skip over that for now. Okay, position start, position end. So we will need those. Position start, position end. So we will need those calculated, and then I think we should be good. Oh, we have traveled. Oh, we have travel time. Wait, we have travel time from the server? Okay, then that makes sense, I guess. I want to see what that value is. I want to see what that travel time value is, but we need to figure out, so the start position and the end position. So we'll use the environment map dot, what was it called again? 2D to something. Position 2D to 3D. And then we'll pass in a vector to int. And it will go row or column. I keep forgetting. I can't remember this stuff. I can't remember. What do we need? How did we do the other one? I'm so bad sometimes with remembering this stuff. Column, then row. Okay. Column, then row. So our start will be column start, row start, and then the similar for, of course, the position end, but it's going to be column start will be column end, and then row start will be row end. Oops, row end. Okay. And then variation ID, we'll put that here for now. I want to see what travel time is. Specifically, I want to see the value of that coming from the server. I guess I could have just looked at the console. But okay, let's test this and see what does this do. Okay, so we'll go log in. Okay, so we need to get a popsicle. We need a popsicle. I mean, it's hot enough. I could definitely eat one. Okay, I definitely need to fix those bugs and weird visual anomalies. We've yet to get a popsicle. There's a popsicle. Okay, so let's see what happens when we go and throw it. Not what I was thinking. Travel time is 1,000? Yeah, no. Doesn't seem right. Okay, either way, we want to use it and it ended up, oh, it ended up in the ground. Huh. Okay. That's not right. But it didn't crash. At least I don't think it crashed. Let's have a look at this and see. Did it crash? No, it didn't crash. Because if it would have crashed, then we would have we would see something that stands out. No, okay, so it didn't crash, but that's definitely not what should have happened. So let's look at what we passed in value-wise, right? Position start is column start, row start. Position end is column end, row end. Maybe I got these backwards. I don't know. I seem to get them backwards often. Actually, that's what might have happened. But it should have still played out its animation, though. So travel time, distance, position start, travel distance. Oh, what is travel distance? Do we use that? I don't think we do. We're not using it, but it's not grayed out either, which I find a little strange. Because usually if you're not using it, it just kind of grays out. Okay, so we'll detonate travel time. Travel distance is currently not being used. Okay, let's look at the outputs. So what we want is string output equals, let's go with popsicle ID, and then we'll go with column start, row start, whoops, that's interesting. Huh. I guess you can't do that. I thought you could. Okay. Okay, so we got column start, row start, column end, row end, direction. Okay, sure, let's go direction. Will detonate, travel distance. I don't know if I need all of that stuff, but I want to see what travel distance is, though. I think it's how many cells it travels, and then travel time afterward, which I don't really care about. Okay, so there's the information I want to see. So what we need to do is pick up another popsicle and toss it and have a look at position-wise what kind of makes sense. Okay, so this round is almost over. Okay, so we need to get a popsicle. There we go. Okay, so we're in the top left corner. We're going to face right, and then we're going to throw the popsicle. Okay, so it played its animation, but yeah. Oh, I didn't put spacing. Okay, so column start is 0, row start is 0, column end is 3, row end is 0. Direction is, I don't know what that is. Travel distance is 3. Okay. So it looks like it's 0, 0 from the top left to the right. Would make a lot more sense if I put some spaces into this. Okay. So that'll help next time. But it doesn't look like the popsicle went anywhere. Wait, never mind. It is moving. Super, super, super slow. You can see that, right? Whoops. Okay, so I think I know what happened. I put in, no, it's still 0.75. So then what happened? Oh, I'm not using it. Okay, that's what happened. So I'm using this travel time instead of that config value that I put in. Okay, so let's take out this travel time and put back in this one here. That would make a lot more sense. Okay, that would make more sense. It's playing the animation. It's just going to take like 100 times longer. That's why it looked like it wasn't actually doing anything, but it was just super slow motion. Okay, so this should fix that then. No timer? Oh, round already ended. Okay, that's why. All right, so we'll wait for next round. So we need to find a popsicle. And then we need to throw the popsicle and see how the animation looks. Okay, so there's our popsicle. Let's see if we can find another one. We'll do a clear. Nope. I put that in the wrong spot. Okay, so one popsicle so far. All right, so let's see what happens when we go to throw it. I didn't really notice the particle effects. Let's try it again. We'll wait for another popsicle. I really didn't see the particle effects. The popsicle definitely played its animation through. I just didn't see the particle effects. No popsicle. Okay. We'll wait for the popsicle. Come on, popsicle. There we go. So we got one. We're moving fast now. Okay, so let's see if the particle effects shows up. Oh yeah, okay. So I just didn't notice it, but it was definitely there. Okay, so that definitely works. So the popsicle now works, but we don't have anything else to it, so that's why you can't see anything, right? Which is kind of something that's important. I don't know if I'll be able to do that stuff today. My shader knowledge isn't quite where I want it to be yet, so I can't quite do the effect that I would like to do. I like that block. Okay. All right. So we got those working. So they are working in the way that they're supposed to be working in theory. Of course, there's some weird bugs and stuff that I don't know how to fix those. Actually, that's not true. I do know how to fix those. I just need to diagnose it and go deeper into it and figure that stuff out. It's just not so easy to do. Okay, so the actual popsicle effect, though, that's going to be an interesting challenge. Because what I want to do is I want to use a shader for that effect mixed with, so it'll be a shader and a particle effect. So this will be the first time that I'm going to be using a shader for an actual effect. And it's going to be a simple one. We're going to likely use, what are we going to use? We're going to use a cube, I think. Probably a Fresnel lens. And some kind of something. I don't know. Off the top of my head, I'm just trying to think. But what if we... Because I don't think I can do that just yet. I'll need to do some research. And I don't want this stream to be about just doing research. I think maybe if we can diagnose those, those anomalies, I think that would be of great value if we can diagnose that. Because what happens is the, not within here, so within here, these all work fine, right? But when you go into the game room, which I find strange, what happens is you get disappearing objects, which I don't quite understand why. So let's go game room and we'll open up our object pool. Let's bring that stuff down a bit. Okay. So let's kind of pay attention to it and see if we can spot how to get it to do that thing. Okay, so our pool consists of one explosive right now. Okay, so that's our explosive. We have only one explosive. Okay. So it's that same one. You'll see it get used, and it'll keep getting cycled back through being used and going to the object pool again and again. Right? But when we get to the point where we have multiple, right? that's when we start to get disappearing objects, which I find strange. So I think there's something going on. So right there, we saw that disappearing one. Okay, we'll need to wait for more power-ups. Okay. Now we have enough. All right, so 1, 2, right? They work fine. So if we go 1, 2, 3, 4, they work fine. Again, so that works fine. Oh, oh. I was moving too fast. I couldn't get into a safe spot. That's one of the downsides of moving really fast. You need to think, and I just wasn't thinking. Okay. So no luck that time. And I think it's the same thing that's happening both with the pickup items as well as the explosives. So it's a matter of just figuring out what is causing it and then fixing it, because it's obviously a logical flaw, because otherwise there would be errors and it would be crashing and whatnot, but it's not. So you saw that flicker right there? Yeah, so that happened right there. So there was a disappearing bomb. So if one disappears, then I think we can, yeah, okay, so then it disappears again there. Okay, so once it happens, nope, didn't do it that time. Nope, didn't do it that time. So how do we do it? How do we get the disappearing bomb? Okay, so we got multiple disappearing bombs there. I don't quite understand it. That's why I can't solve it, is because I don't understand it. Okay, so there we go. Multiple disappearing again. But what's causing that? And there's another one. Is it an animation interruption? Is that what's causing it? It could be an animation interruption. So right there, 2 of them disappeared. Even though there's 4 there, only 2 showed up. Again, 2 disappeared. We got all 4 this time. We got all 4 again. I noticed a hiccup there. I'm not sure what's causing it. There's definitely something. That's not quite right. So the first one disappeared. The third one disappeared. The first three disappeared. Okay. I don't get it. Not sure what's going on there. So we have a bunch of explosives. What happens if we just take them and... Oh, we can't... When we enable, it doesn't do anything. Interesting. Oh, it's because the animation is played through. Right. Okay, so that doesn't work. I'm trying to think how I can diagnose this. I don't understand what circumstances causes that. I mean, I could use breakpoints and whatnot, but that is so slow and quite tedious. I generally, like many other programmers, don't use breakpoints unless I have to, because it's not fun. It's really not. I find it not helpful and quite tedious oftentimes, even though it's very powerful to use breakpoints and use conditional breakpoints. I think I would end up probably in the same spot. So it's when I place a new explosive, the previous one disappears, or at least I think so. I'm not sure, but I think so. Let's have a look at the class itself. Let's go look at the explosive. Okay, so looking at this, let's see what happens when we do. So on complete of animation 2 is the exit animation we call recycle. But if it doesn't get... Oh. I think that might be it right there. If it doesn't play through and it gets destroyed, what happens then? Yeah, on restore, we should be calling okay, so we are calling it there. So stop all animations, restore, play intro, but that's on play animation intro. What about when multiple explosives are destroyed at the same time from game room? I guess we don't need this anymore. So when multiple explosives are destroyed, what do we do? How does that logic work? Okay, so we get bomb explode. We got an array of bomb IDs. We pass them in through here. And then from here, we go and loop through the IDs, check that each one exists. We call stop all animations, and then we play explosion. So we're calling stop all animations. Stop all animations, we'll stop all the animations, and then we call play explosion. Play explosion also calls stop animation. Then it calls restore. Then it plays the animation. I think that's what's happening though, is stop all animations I don't think is properly clearing them. So let's go through it. So stop, what does stop do? Stop goes to here. Status inactive, time elapsed, progress 0. Is that the default? Time elapsed 0, progress 0. Okay, so that is the default. Value start, value end, duration. Okay. Okay, so maybe that's not it. But that's on the play explosion. What about on the play intro? We're calling stop all animations. We call restore. Then we play intro. What is restore? Restore sets scale. Scale XYZ. Okay, let's have a look at that. The explosive prefab. On the exit animation, so this is the explosion, we are setting scale. Set scale XYZ. But set scale to which object? Shadow parent. Okay, I guess that works, but there's more to it though. 'Cause if we go to shadow parent, we get this, which is fine. But our transitions, though, they're not applied at that level. Oh, they are. Container, container, container. And then shockwave. I guess we can ignore that for now. I don't know. I'm still thinking the animations are the cause. I think they're conflicting. That's what I'm thinking. I can't say for sure, but that's kind of my hunch right now, is that the animations are conflicting and that's what's causing it. But when we call stop all animations, it should have stopped all of them and then reset. So in theory, it shouldn't be conflicting. That's not used. Okay, let's see. So we're looping through each one of the animation property groups. Within each one, what is this animations complete? I don't think it would be at this level. So then this goes through the individual properties, loops through them, calls stop, state changes to inactive, time elapsed goes to 0, progress goes to 0. Okay, so this calls tick, and then tick goes and loops through. Each one of them, calls tick, target enabled state. If state is not equal in progress, then return. Okay, so that's our escape. So that means in theory that shouldn't be conflicting, but that doesn't mean it's not. Target enabled state has to be in progress for this to execute. Okay, so if this is the only condition that this can happen, that means then it comes down to tick. Tick is called from here and from where else? I thought there was one more. Okay, here. Play from start calls tick. I think that is what's happening, is that they're conflicting. The intro and the explosion are conflicting because they're touching the same object and applying different distortion properties. I think that's what's happening. So how can we stop that? But the state should be preventing that, so I'm not sure. What happens when we call stop? Stop changes state to inactive. Time elapsed to 0, progress equals 0. So that's a full stop. Reset does the exact same. Wait, why does reset do the same? I don't really know, but okay. So on tick, if state is inactive, no, then that can't be right. So it's not going to conflict. It's not working. Okay, let's approach this a little differently. Handle animation complete. Animation ID 2. We'll call recycle. I think we need to do further testing. It's the only thing I can think of is to test it out some more, because I'm not sure exactly how to capture the exact scenario. Because it should, if it happens there, it should be happening here. right? Or maybe we can make it here to more easily test it, because it's easier to test it here. Let's do that. Let's do that. Okay, so on game room, when we do the test explosive placement, so when this goes and creates it, it's not returning an object. Let's get it to return an object, and then we'll use that reference to activate a recycle timer, or sorry, a animation timer to play a certain animation, and then see if we can get that visual anomaly happening somehow. It's worth a try. That way, at least if it doesn't work, then we've eliminated another potential possibility. Okay, so what I wanted to do is when it creates an explosive, I wanted to return it. Okay, so by it returning it, all it does is it returns a reference. Which then we can take and we can call to play the explosion and recycle on delay. Right? So let's see if we have that. Do we have anything like that? I don't think we do. We don't have an animation cue or animation on delay, I don't think. Play intro, play animation. I don't think we do. Okay. We don't. So, but because we want to test it at this level, let's do this. So we'll say private coroutine coroutine. This will be the destroy animation. And then another one to interrupt this one will be the coroutine recycle. Because I want to be able to call this one to play at random times, and then I want to call this one to play at random times, but interrupt this one. That makes sense. That way it would simulate same idea as what's happening in the game room, but on a much faster level. So I can just mass test it, is kind of what I'm thinking. So let's do that. Let's implement this functionality. Or could we could move that into the base class, but I don't think that's necessary right now. Might move it there later, But for right now, we'll just implement it here. So this will need to be a public void play delayed explosion. Okay. Then if coroutine destroy animation does not equal null, we want to stop coroutine. Okay. Otherwise, coroutine equals start coroutine. Start delayed explosion, and we'll pass in the delay. And this will be enumerator yield return wait 4 seconds. We'll put in the delay, yield return new wait 4 seconds, and then this will just call the play explosion. Okay. And then of course on okay, so we'll need a proper stop for it then. Private void stop delayed explosion. Gonna move that logic into there, just so it's more easy to call. That way, I like to put that into the destroy. And we will put that also on, I think, in restore. We'll need to put it in restore, and we'll need to put it in recycle, I think. I can't think properly. It's kind of been one of those crazy work weeks. I can feel my my logic just isn't quite what it should be right now. I think maybe I'll end the stream a bit sooner today, but I want to see if I can make a bit more progress on this before I call it. Okay, so what we want to do is, this is fine for now. We do want to call on play explosion, we call restore. Yeah, let's put it in here as well, just in case. Okay, so now that means that we should be able to pass. Oh, that's a big spider. We should be able to call that immediately after this. So where's our test? this dot play delayed explosion, and we'll put it at 1F for now. So for right now, if we were to run it, wait, there's an error. Oh, I forgot to save it. I do that often. Okay, so if we run this, and when I place an explosive, it should, okay. So then that should go into the object pool. And then we got one object in the object pool. So if I go to use it, okay, so the animations seem to be playing correctly. On the right screen, yes we are. Okay, so the animations seem to be playing correctly. So I think it's really that interruption, which we have yet to implement. Yeah, I do think it's the interruption that's causing it. So let's try that next. Okay, so this will explode, so it's hard-coded for now, that's fine. Where's our other one? Okay, so the other one that we're going to do is the recycle. And the reason why I wanted to recycle is because it simulates another bomb exploding and affecting the cycle of this one, right? So I want to intentionally interrupt this animation and capture it in before it goes off. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I want to interrupt the animations basically and see what happens. That's exactly what I want to do. So let's go and implement that logic. So public void recycle. Wait, I think I already have that. I think I already have a delayed recycle. Yeah, I already have a delayed recycle. Okay, perfect. Then I won't need that. Okay, so the delayed recycle is the one that's going to be space equals random dot, I think it's random dot range, or how does that work again? I haven't used that in a while. It's random something. Hmm. Okay, but I want a random. Yeah, so it is random dot range. I want a float though. I don't want. I guess I could just divide it. Yeah, I can just divide it. Not a big deal. I don't care about performance right now. So random dot range. So let's make it 1 to. No, it doesn't work. It'll need to be 1,000 to 2,000. We'll make this into a float. Why does it not like that? Oh, ambiguous reference. Okay, so we got random. And then we'll divide it by 1,000. So that should give us a recycle time. So between 1 to 2 seconds. We can, of course, increase or decrease it. But since we want to interrupt it, let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. I'm curious. What happens if we do that? I think I'll need to shorten that range to really interrupt it. So let's bring it down to 200 to 2 seconds. Actually, let's bring it down even lower. I want to interrupt because there's multiple phases of the animation. So I've brought it down to between 200 to 500 milliseconds. Let's see what happens then. Because now it should interrupt the first phase of the animation. So that means the second phase is not going to get a chance to play out. Oh, but I do need it to randomly. I don't know. I'm still not seeing that weird anomaly. Okay, so we'll go between 200 and 1,500 milliseconds. So 0.2 seconds to 1.5 seconds. I think I'm going to have to end this stream pretty soon. Let's see what we can do though. These all appear to be working fine to me. The interruption doesn't really seem to be really causing that effect. They are disappearing, similar to before, but not exactly. And the reason why this, yeah, I think I need to take more factors into account to really build out this test. No. Okay. It gives me a good starting point though for tomorrow to continue the testing to see where we can get it to tomorrow. I'm just not in the right mindset for today to do debugging like this or to do shader stuff. So I think the best thing I can do is just take it easy, relax, get some good rest, and tackle it again tomorrow when I get the opportunity to sit down after some good rest and see what I can do. But anyway, so if you enjoyed this broadcast or if you enjoy the project and want to stay up to date with it, feel free to hop into any of these broadcasts or watch any of the previous ones that are archived onto YouTube. And you're welcome to join Discord. And yeah, that's going to be it. So thank you for watching. Have a great evening. Have a great weekend. And I'll see you in the next broadcast.